All right, everybody. Welcome to the first part of the snow cart build here. Just got it out of the box and it's sitting in this crate. We'll go ahead and figure out how this box comes apart and get it opened up. All right, well, just got it finished taking it out of the crate it came in. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Doesn't seem like it's too beat up or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and try and get some oil and a little bit of diesel fuel into this thing and come back to you when we get it fired up. All right, welcome back, everybody. As you can see, parts have arrived. Looking on the floor today because there's even more parts up here. I'm thinking I've got pretty much everything I need to at least get this thing kind of roughed in, just to get kind of a good plan going here and kind of figure out the dimensions of everything. So this will be welded onto that axle at some point to drive the tracks. And then just got the torque converter here. The weird part about this engine is this output shaft is 20 millimeters and the size of it's up there, but the size of the hole in the torque converter that's supposed to mount onto here is 3/4 inch. Need to shave something like a millimeter off of this shaft to be able to fit the torque converter onto it, the pulley itself, to really make sure that that's going to work. So at some point, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, grind it down until it fits. I guess that's my best idea I've got right now. So I just have to go with that. Right now, I'm going to just make sure that the chain works. And then after that, we'll try and figure out what sort of setup we want this to be when it's mounted on the frame, which is just cut into pieces at the moment. So we'll get back to you. Also, I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the machining on this part. You know it's good when it gets the rainbow effect and gets all colorful like that. You know it's good machining. Alright, we back. We got the chain hooked up and it seems to fit this sprocket and it also fits the gear back there. So I want to put the torque converter, kind of flip it like that. Only problem is that this just barely gets in the way of one of these splines back here. I think I'm just gonna get the grinder out, make some clearance there, and it's gonna fit really nicely right back there. And then I gotta kind of figure out, after I get that figured out, what I want to do mounting the actual cart frame to this. There's bearings in the back. There'll be another one over here. The bearings are going to be a lot closer than the full width of the cart. I need to figure out if I just want to build like a little extension that comes out there and then holds the motor and kind of extends the frame out to here. So it would be kind of like that and then like that. Or because I'm going to have them like this, if I want to put a plate down there like that and then have a piece coming straight up and then going out, giving the cart a little bit more elevation off the ground. Now that I say that out loud, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's probably how I want to do it. And that also gives me a lot of flexibility for modifications in the future, if I decide to put suspension on the back or whatever. I'll get back to you guys once I got it a little bit more figured out. Alright, so I got the torque converter flipped over. This is the orientation I wanted. It looks really nice like that. It fits really good. But the only issue we run into is can't get it bolted all the way up. Can't get it flat because we're making contact down there. So might have to just make some clearance out of there, and should fit pretty good. All right, as you can see, I just got that piece grinded out of there. So we're gonna stick it on the motor and see how it fits. All right, so it's safe to say I've got ahead of myself a little bit in terms of taking the videos, but I'm gonna give you guys an update real quick. I've been working on this thing for a while now. I've got the torque converter put onto the engine here. A little bit of an interesting fit, being that the torque converter was not designed for this engine, and this engine's not necessarily made to go on go-karts or anything like that, but we're gonna try and make it work with the best we can. The only thing is I had to grind down the output shaft, as you already know. I was worried about the clearance on those bolts back there, but it actually seems to be just fine. Problem is, because I guess of the size of the shaft, I can't fit the spacer in the back of here and still get this plate to go on and get the bolt to fit. Maybe I could get a bigger bolt, but I don't think that's gonna work out well, so I'm just gonna try it as it is. The belt is a little bit off center. It doesn't really track perfectly straight. The part I had to cut off worked good. Plenty of clearance in there now, but once I get a couple more steps further, I'll come back and I'll give you guys an update. I've got the frame all tacked together because I want to make sure this is right, and I'm glad I did it because I had to redo it a couple times because I put these pieces on the outside and that was wrong, and I've got the perfect dimensions to where I want it to be now, with the track sticking out just a little past the frame. Right now I'm working on the supports that are going to connect to the bearings here for the tracks. I decided I am going to make it a little bit elevated just for more ground clearance and that sort of thing. Made a flat plate that's going to sit on top of there like that, and then a piece that's going to come up 5 inches from there, and then we'll set the frame on top of that. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm getting them all shaped up. Just got them all kind of sitting here, all perfect how I want it to be. Just gonna have to run a weld down either side. Do that twice, do it for this other one here. Got the holes drilled out in these plates. Don't have the bolts yet, so I'm gonna have to get those at some point. Made a little bit more progress here. Last place we left off, I was just making those brackets for the bearings there. Just trying to get a mock-up of where I want the engine to sit so that the chain can pass through without any problems, and I can add a tensioner in the future if needed. But I think I got it marked out pretty good. It's less space in between there than I thought I was gonna need to be, so that makes it even longer, which will make the riding more enjoyable. Just to try and figure out where I want the chain to go and trying to get a straight run. It all seems to be lining up, so I'm just making some marks. Put these guys over and weld the bottom of this to this cross beam right here, and at that point we should be pretty much got the drive figured out and the drive system, and at that point it'll just be the smaller stuff like putting the skis on the front and making some tires that work for the front, tightening up the last few bolts and doing that sort of thing. But I'm gonna have to try and weld this sprocket on here in between those lines so I can try and get it centered back to where it is, and so our chain drives straight, unlike our crooked belt. We're gonna see how it works in the end, and I'll get you guys back once I've made a little bit more progress than this. Alright everybody, welcome back. As you can see, I've made a lot more progress since I last filmed. Got ahead of myself again. But let me show you what I've done and kind of how this thing works. Don't mind the seat because that's not permanent. That's just for me to test the go-kart and make sure everything works. This is what I've done for the front axle and wheels and steering setup. This is also just for testing. I don't know if I'm going to keep it like the handlebars or not, but this is where we're at for right now. The way the steering works is we've got just that guy there, pivots back and forth, moving this rod, and that's connected to this wheel hub here, which also has a connecting tie rod right here, going over to the other wheel hub. And the way these wheel hubs are very similar to just like a car. They just have a bolt going through there, and that's sticking out this other side here, and that's what holds on the wheels. And that acts as the wheel axle. This just cut a little bit out of the main axle part right here to allow for some turning to happen here, and that's all that it is. You can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. Got the same thing going over here on this side, same sort of setup with the wheel hub, and don't mind the dirt. I was just out testing it. Don't worry, that video will be out shortly. So that's kind of how the steering is connected. As you can see, it does seem to work pretty good. Got this piece welded in here just to add some support, so you can put some, put your force onto it and it's not gonna break or anything. It's just all tied in down here to this bearing that the pole is going through, and is welded to this piece right here that helps add stability and keep it on the frame. Next thing that I've put into this thing is I've got the pedal set up. Here at the pedal, of course, moves back and forth like that, spring loaded. If you want to increase your engine idle speed, all you have to do is tighten this bolt up and it will push against the pedal there, and that changes your idle speed. I don't have one to adjust your throttle maximum. Following the cable back, goes back here under the seat, comes through here, out there, coming up here, all the way to this guy here. And so it's just tied in there. The thing about it is you have to push it all the way up like that to get the engine to stop. It will not stop by letting off the pedal. It will just return to an idle position. In order to get to fully stop, you have to put your hand on this and push it all the way up until the engine cuts out. Of course, you can also adjust the idle speed with the knob here. You just set it and then screw it in at whatever position you want it to be at. But for normal operation, just leave it loose, and then that way it's powered by the cable and the foot pedal down there. Another change I've made to the setup here is down here where the engine mounts to the frame. I put some rubber grommets in here to help with the crazy amount of vibration this thing makes, and it seems to make a pretty big difference, but still not quite where I want it to be. I think I'm gonna have to either add some bigger ones or maybe stack a couple up. Like I said, just got done taking it for a test drive, and these bolts here, because of the rubber bumpers here, do not like to stay very tight. So I'm either going to have to get different, like a locking nut, or maybe find a longer bolt and put 2 nuts on there for different sorts of adjustments. But other than that, this system works pretty good. These were slotted out to try to make room for chain tensioning. However, it doesn't seem to give me enough. And especially with these in here, it makes the tensioning with this mounting plate a little bit tricky. So after that test ride, got home and I figured that I'm going to have to create some sort of chain tensioner. I've got an extra sprocket that I can use to help tension the chain. I'm just gonna have to create some sort of bracket with a spring to keep pressure on that to keep it from hopping off the axle down there. I've put a little bit of runtime on this torque converter and it seems to be doing pretty good. It does look like it is wearing a little bit, but that could just be because it's a new belt, or I'm not sure if it's due to the poor alignment. But either way, it seems to be holding up and is not causing any problems. At the speed I've been running this at, this belt seems to be doing pretty good. I don't think it fully opens up or closes depending on what side you're on. but it's still, for right now, plenty, and I'm still breaking in the engine, so I haven't gotten to the test to see if at maximum throttle it does actually open and close all the way. But that's something we're gonna learn more about in the future.
Son the man, get the cash when I can. Got a pint for the low in the bag, and I'm saying, so if I shout it.